What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon NFL video for Week 10. We're going to go over all of the rankings that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the top 5 at each position. Now, if you want to see the rest, they are in these articles right here, which I will link down below because I don't want this video to be super long, but I wanted to give you guys this. So if you've never been to the channel before, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. It would be awesome to watch these videos in their entirety, and clicking on the ads helps us out as well. But as always, we have a sponsor, which is Outlier.bet. So if you guys are into DFS, you're into sports betting, you're into NFL football, you're into NBA, whatever you're in, Outlier has you covered. You can check them out. You can check out prop bets, which we build on different videos that we put on this channel. But check out Outlier. The link is in the description. You get 7-day free trial if you sign up with our link. If you go through the 7 days and you want to go their normal package that they have, if you use our link and you show us proof by emailing us, we will then give you a free month of FTA+. That's every single sport we offer, from DFS to sports betting, from football all the way to MMA. If you go through the link and then you decide you want the pro package, you can sign up using proof. We will give you 3 months free of FTA+. That's a $90 value on top of it. So make sure you check out Outlier for all of your sports betting and just DFS needs. They help out so much. They've allowed us and our subscribers to win a ton of money this NFL season so far. And the start of the NBA season has been pretty damn good as well. If you want to see those, we have some statistics that we can show you. In our Discord, down below in the description, is our free Discord as well, where we go over anything you guys want. It's completely free for you, so get in there and become part of the family. So before we get started, if you go to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, go to FTA+, $10 for a week gets you every single sport. $30 a month or $200 for a year. But we have a few coupon codes left for the yearly pass. If you use the promo code NBA is back, all one word, all capital letters and numbers, NBA is back, you're going to get a $200 a year for $74.99 while supplies last. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our matchup tool to give you guys some ideas of why some of these guys are ranked where they're ranked. So you can find the matchup tools right here, but I'm going to have it on this screen. But the matchup tool is there, and you can find it under the NFL tab, under NFL DFS matchup tool. So definitely make sure you check that out. But our Week 10 QB rankings start with Jalen Hurts, as he and the Eagles are set to head to Dallas this weekend to face a Dak-less or Cooper Rush plus Dallas team. Their defense is bad. And we'll do the top 5. We'll do top 6 since some of the picks are going to be on the Thursday Night Football game, and maybe you're watching this after Thursday night. But looking at this, I've got Jalen Hurts at Dallas. So if we look at Dallas Cowboys this year ranked 28th out of 32 against the opposing quarterbacks. They're giving up an average of 20.6 DraftKings fantasy points, and they're giving up an average of 20.4 fantasy points on DraftKings. They've given up 2 300-plus passing games. They've given up 1 rushing touchdown to the opposing quarterbacks. But this is Jalen Hurts. This is the tush push. This is easily what I could see here. Do not be surprised if Jalen Hurts throws for 2+ and runs in 2+ as well. I absolutely love this matchup for him. I think Dallas Cowboys, they're doomed. If they weren't doomed at the beginning of the season, they're probably doomed the rest of the year. Their defense was great in Week 1. It's been trash since then. I absolutely love Jalen Hurts here. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson, but we're not going to cover that because it's Thursday Night Football, but second best matchup for me. Again, since he just absolutely dominated this team back in Week 5, and I think it'll probably go about the same. We'll see. When you're watching this, we'll see what happened. Number 3 this week, Josh Allen at Indy. So if we look at Indianapolis against the opposing quarterbacks, they rank 25th on DraftKings and 24th on FanDuel. They give up an average of 19.2 fantasy points and 18.7 on FanDuel. They've given up 2,000 yards through the air, 13 touchdowns, but they do have 10 interceptions, so they've been pretty good. But I believe Josh Allen has 1 interception this year. So we look at that. They've also given up a rushing touchdown, 138 yards on the ground, and we know that Josh Allen can run. It seems that he has all of his pass catchers back. He has his running backs back. He has a 3-headed running back monster in that backfield, and I've got him against Indy here. We are seeing Indy give up 282 completions, and they rank 20th out of 32 in the red zone. So all signs point to Josh Allen being number 3 for Week 10. Number 4 is Jaden Daniels versus Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh defense they're not bad. They're very good. They're third against the quarterback this year. 13.4 on DraftKings fantasy points per game and 13.1 on FanDuel. They've only given up 1,600 yards through the air for passing, only 6 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, but they've given up 3 rushing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks, and we know that Jaden Daniels can run. Most likely, unless something happens and he gets hurt, Jaden Daniels is probably the number 1 pick for Rookie of the Year this year. He's been dominating. He's got Washington to 7-2, which they have not been since, I can't even remember, it was like the 90s, I think, or the 80s. So I absolutely love Jaden Daniels here at number 4. Number 5, I got Joe Burrow. Again, Thursday Night Football game. He threw 5 touchdowns in that Week 5 matchup there, and he's got a fantastic matchup. So we'll go top 7 since 2 of the guys are on Thursday Night Football. Number 6, we've got Sam Darnold versus Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville this year, the worst team against the opposing quarterbacks. 24.5 fantasy points per game on DraftKings, 24.4 fantasy points per game on FanDuel this year. They've given up 1,700 yards and 19 touchdowns. They are ranked dead last with touchdowns given up. They do have 8 interceptions, but I love Sam Darnold here. I love a stack of Darnold and Justin Jefferson. Or if you look at their other guys, we had Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison, and another J name in Week 9. So there are a lot of ways to go about this stack, but I do like Sam Darnold at number 6. And then number 7, I've got Brock Purdy going up against Tampa Bay. If we look at Tampa Bay this year against the opposing quarterback, they rank 31st out of 32. They give up an average of 24.4 fantasy points on DraftKings, an average of 24.2 fantasy points on FanDuel. They've given up 10 touchdowns, but they also have 10 interceptions. So the defense has been pretty good, but they've also given up 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So I do have Brock Purdy at number 7. So that's 1 Jalen Hurts, 2 Jackson, 3 Josh Allen, 4 Daniels, 5 Joe Burrow, 6 Darnold, and 7 is Brock Purdy. If you want to see the rest of the list all the way down to the bottom, click the link for the QBs in the description of this video. So now we're going to run to running backs. And so we've got number 1 this week is Derrick Henry going up against Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. So we do have him number 1. So we're going to skip to number 2 because, again, I don't know when you guys are watching this. So number 2 this week, it was very close, but we got Saquon Barkley. I know he got injured or he's a little bit hurt in that game, but we saw him juke and then hurdle backwards, which is probably the craziest play I've ever seen. Let me know if if another play that comes to mind that's better than that. Outside of Derrick Henry's just, throwing down Josh Norman to the ground. But Barkley at Dallas. So if we look at Dallas against the running backs this year, they rank 29th on DraftKings, 30th on FanDuel. They give up an average of 28 fantasy points per game on DraftKings, 26 fantasy points per game on FanDuel. They've given up about 870 yards on the ground, 10 touchdowns, and 2 100-plus rushing games. Barkley could feast in this one. They've also given up 332 yards in the air to running backs and a touchdown, but no 100-yard receiving game to an opposing running back. But I absolutely love Barkley. He's the number 1 running back in my mind after a Thursday Night Football game. Number 3 is Kyren Williams. I believe he has a touchdown in 11 straight games or 10 straight games, something like that. I think. I could be wrong. Going in, facing Miami in this matchup here. So if we look at Miami against the running back, they rank 23rd, give up an average of 25.5, and they rank 23rd on FanDuel, giving up an average of 23.7 fantasy points per game. They've given up 830 yards on the ground with 10 touchdowns. They've also given up 231 yards through the air to running backs with 2 touchdowns as well. Kyren Williams, almost a lock every single week unless he gets hurt to get a touchdown. That is why I have him number 3 in Week 10. Number 4 is Bijan Robinson at New Orleans. So New Orleans started the season off very well, and they've kind of come back down to earth. Against the opposing running backs, they rank 25th on DraftKings, 27th on FanDuel, giving up 26.6 fantasy points per game on DraftKings and 24.4 fantasy points per game on FanDuel. They give up 958 yards on the ground with 10 touchdowns and 3 100-plus rushing games or rushing yards games. So they've given up a ton. Bijan could be in store for a pretty good game here. They've also given up 295 yards through the air and 1 touchdown to opposing running backs as well. So I do have Bijan number 4. Number 5 is Breece Hall at Arizona. Arizona's defense against the run ranked 24th, giving up 26.2 and 23.7 on FanDuel. They've given up over 1,000 yards to opposing running backs so far this year, 7 touchdowns, and they're giving up an average of 4.6 yards per attempt. So to put that in perspective, there's a ton of teams giving up 4.6, but there's not a ton of teams that are giving up 1,000 yards on the ground already. Also, they've given up 338 yards through the air to running backs and 2 touchdowns as well. So I absolutely love Breece Hall at number 5. And then number 6, Joe Mixon going up against Detroit. If we look at Detroit's number, and you can find all of this information completely free in our matchup tool under the NFL tab. Detroit ranks 5th, so they're pretty good against the running back, 18.9 on DraftKings and 17 on FanDuel. They've only given up 634 yards, no 100-yard game, 6 touchdowns, no passing touchdowns as well. But Joe Mixon's kind of another beast. I love Joe Mixon in this situation. I do have him at number 6. Number 5, if you take out Derrick Henry and the Thursday Night Football game. So there you have it. There are the top 6 running backs. If you want to see the entire list, we have over 75 or 100. Go click the link in the description of this video. So moving to the wide receiver for week 10. Now, we look at this. Let's have some fun. So we go into here, and we are looking at number 1, Justin Jefferson. We got Jetta here going on the road in Jacksonville. Jacksonville ranks 29th. They're giving up an average of 39.7 fantasy points per game on DraftKings and 33.1 on FanDuel. They've given up 1,500 yards through the air with 10 touchdowns and 4 100-yard games through 9 weeks. On top of that, they've given up a couple, like 24 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown to a wide receiver, which those stats aren't huge. That doesn't happen a ton. So Justin Jefferson, I've got him number 1. Number 2 is Jamar Chase at Baltimore. I love this matchup for him. That's why he's captain and MVP spot on some of our lineups for the showdown for Thursday night. But then we moved to number 3. Garrett Wilson had himself a nice Thursday Night Football night the other night, but now we're into week 10. At Arizona, Arizona is giving up, they're 19th, ranked 19th, giving up 34.6 fantasy points on DraftKings, 28.2. Now, we know that technically Garrett Wilson's 1A to Devontae Adams 1B, being wide receiver 1A and 1B. They did just get so Lazard, I believe, is on the IR. They did just get rid of Mike Williams. They traded him. So it could open up a little bit. Garrett Wilson had a great week last week. I think both of these wide receivers with Aaron Rodgers could have a fantastic week in week 10. So I've got him number 3. Number 4, I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown at Houston. So looking at Houston against the opposing wide receivers, are giving up 36.4 fantasy points per game, 25th ranked on DraftKings, and 30.8 on FanDuel, also being 25th ranked there. Giving up 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. Now, they are number 1 in touchdowns allowed to wide receivers by 1. Baltimore Ravens have given up 13. So the Texans have given up a ton of touchdowns. This could be a feast for Amon-Ra St. Brown. This could be a feast for a Jared Goff stack in week 10. Number 5 is Malik Neighbors at Carolina. So Carolina, they are ranked 13th against the wide receiver, which is the only thing they're ranked highly at. But 13th, giving up 31.9 fantasy points per game. So that's still great. This is all dependent on how Daniel Jones does or whoever's starting for the New York Giants this weekend. It's Malik Neighbors, but the team's very, very bad. So outside of Malik Neighbors, I don't love the wide receivers that much for the Giants. So I will still take a little bit of Malik Neighbors. I don't think I'm doing a Daniel Jones Neighbors stack, but I will have Neighbors here at number 5. And then number 6, Cooper Kupp versus Miami. So we look at Miami, and against the wide receiver, they're actually pretty good. Ranked 3rd, 26.6 on DraftKings, 21.8 on FanDuel. Now, the only thing that would make this better is if Puka decides to play the entire game, not get hurt, and not get ejected. Because if Puka is out, Cooper Kupp is a little down because they're going to be double teaming way more than if Puka is in there. So hopefully Puka, you decide to stay in the game, don't get ejected or anything like that. Cooper Kupp, number 6 versus Miami. You want to see the rest of them? We do have 126 ranked. You can check them out in the article down below. Also helps out when you go to the website. Now we move to the tight end position. Tight ends this year have not been that good. We know that. But our tight end rankings start with George Kittle, as he and the San Francisco 49ers are set to face Baker and the Bucs down in Tampa. So we look at this game here. Number 1, George Kittle at Tampa Bay. So looking at Tampa Bay against the opposing tight ends, they rank 31 out of 32, giving up an average of 16 fantasy points per game. Now, before the break, Kittle was averaging, I believe, 1 touchdown per game and like 50-plus yards, like 53 yards a game. He did not have a touch. I don't think he had a touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. He might have, though. But they had to, obviously, the week off with CMC being back. It's going to get a little bit more creative in that scheme. So I am looking for this, and I like George Kittle number 1. Number 2 is Travis Kelce versus Denver. Denver against the opposing tight ends. They rank 10th, give up 10.2, but Kelce seems to be back. He's getting a ton of targets. We saw that Monday Night Football, just throwing the ball to him. Throw. He is getting them. He's taking it upfield. Maybe not getting the touchdowns that we would like out of him, but he is getting the production. And if you're doing sports betting, he's getting the receptions as well. So if his line is currently under 5.5 receptions, I think I would smash the over in that one. Number 3 is Cade Otton. Tampa Bay, I have to heavily rely on them. We look at San Francisco against the tight end. They rank 9th. They give up 10.2. So we look at that. And I don't mind this. Cade Otton, I mean, everyone else is hurt. You've got some wide receiver 3s and 4s and 5th stringers coming into these games. Cade Otton is the one that is there and has been the most efficient one there. Now, hopefully he stays healthy, but I've got him number 3. Number 4 is Taysom Hill. He's got that QB eligibility on some websites. He's going up against Atlanta. Atlanta against the tight end. They rank 20th, give up 11.9. He also could get fantasy points for throwing the ball. He's a running back. He does the wildcat. He could line up at QB and run one in. He could line up at QB, flea flick it back, and score a touchdown. There's so many different ways that he could go. I got Taysom Hill number 4. And then number 5, I've got Trey McBride versus the Jets. The New York Jets this year, they're pretty good. They rank 6th, only give up an average of 9 fantasy points per game. But with Marvin Harrison Jr. being in there, with Kyler's legs, that they're going to have to respect him a little bit. Trey McBride, I've got him number 5. If you want to see the rest of the tight ends, they are all down below as well. And then finally, defense. It really just depends what kind of settings you're doing, whether or not you're doing DFS or season long. But I got the Chargers versus Tennessee. I love this matchup for them. Tennessee, it doesn't matter who they throw out at quarterback. It's been bad for them. Number 2 is Philadelphia, because they're facing Cooper Rush or maybe a third-string quarterback in that situation. I love this matchup for them against Dallas. Number 3, I've got Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver. While Denver's defense has been pretty good lately, last week they gave up, I think, 41 to Baltimore and only put up 10 points against that team. That defense, I love the Chiefs' defense here, especially at home. Number 4, I've got Chicago Bears versus New England. New England's a bad team. And number 5, I've got Minnesota Vikings at Jacksonville. We love to take a defense versus Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there you have it. Those are all of the rankings from quarterback to running back to wide receiver, tight end, and even the defenses. If you want to see everything else, I will link them at the end of this video. You want to check out Outlier.bet, definitely check that out. If you want to check out all the other things we have under the NFL tab, you can find from our matchup tool to volume reports to snap counts updated through 10 weeks, our red zone stats for each position. You can see how they do within the 20 and the 10-yard line. Fantasy points allowed per game, either on DraftKings or FanDuel, a completely free tool as well. So depending on which site you use it on, we do have it on the matchup tool, but some people like to just see it as a chart here. So we've got the chart built out for you, and you can sort it however you want to sort it. If you're looking at quarterbacks, you can see quarterback ranking. You can see Jacksonville giving up an average of 24.5 on DraftKings, Tampa Bay 24.4, so on and so forth down the list. So those are what we've got. If you want to see everything else, go check out FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. If you guys want to sign up, you obviously can. $10 for a week. If you use the promo code NBA is back, instead of $200 for the year pass, get it for $74.99. That'll include the rest of this NFL season, the first 10 weeks of next season, the rest of this NBA season, and the first, 3 weeks of next NBA season, the entire 2025 MLB season. We've got NASCAR, PGA, and MMA as well. So we've got it all for you. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Let me know some of your favorite plays this week down below in this video. And let's just have some fun this week. Let's have some great DFS and sports betting. And you know what to do. Let's bring home some bacon this weekend. Peace!